HHHE, Herbert's 100 harem. He slotted in the small portion of the laser rifle into position. There was an agreement that the children couldn't keep the tank. The temple did not want the weapons, but the components were of value to them. So an agreement was reached and Herbert was getting the weapons off the spider tank, which of course meant fixing the damage he had done to it. But there were no regrets on his part. Better dealing with some fiddly bits of machine than scraping bits of some poor soul up into a body bag. There's a sudden bang, and he looks up to see Kruga trying to hammer a chunk of plate metal into position. Looks like she really wants that cool helmet. That's fine. So to the inconsistent poundings and clangings of a hammer on metal, he fixes one weapon after another until he feels a tiny mechanical form drape herself over his back. "What you doing?" Amazi 2 asks him. "Fixing the weapons." "Why did they need fixing?" "Because you were very excited when they were a part of you, and I didn't want them going off by accident," he answers. "Oh, he, she says, and he finally looks up a bit to see that she has a very smug expression on her face. "What's that look for?" "What look?" "The look on your face." "Is there a look on my face?" "There is a smug look on your face." "Is there?" "There is." "Someone go it wrong," she chants at him. "Excuse me?" he asked. "I've got a new link up to the networks. It's blocking some sites, but it lets me see all kinds of things. I can see forever." "And what can you see in the forever?" when he asked. "Kid with unblockable internet access?" "Well, it will either keep her calm or he's going to need to look out for the rugrats making battleship-grade power cores that are prone to exploding. Or something else. There's no real way of knowing when she basically has infinite textbooks and blueprints at her disposal." "You got it wrong! You got it wrong!" "I got what wrong?" "Human sweat isn't an oil. You're covered in oil, but human sweat is just water. And some other things, but you go it wrong. You got it wrong. And what are those other things? Salt, toxins, waste, pheromones, and hormones. Exact levels and additional additives vary based on diet and genealogy." She reads out despite having nothing to read. "Right, well, my mistake then. I never had a situation where knowing what sweat is made of would be relevant. But if it comes up, I'll get it right now. Thank you," he says, cutting off the potential teasing in the nicest way he can. "So what are those other bits you're making sure are working?" Amazi 2 asks him. "Could you be more specific?" "I'm making sure the whole thing works." He answers, "Well, that's a power coupling. You need all of those together to make a laser like this work. All of them. If one of them is gone, then the laser just doesn't build up the power to work, and you need to bridge it. But even then, it's not as powerful a shot." "That's right. Taking one out is a good way to stop a laser from going off. Not perfect, but there is no perfect answer to anything," he says, and she nods. "Right, I get that. In the plasma ones, you pulled out the ignition primers, which actually makes the plasma hot instead of just a really, really tight fart." "A tight fart?" Herbert asks in bafflement. "Yeah, a fart is when you let out air, right?" "That's one description, yes," he confirms. "Well, a plasma shot is basically a FAR. That's really big put in a really small place and set on fire, right? How do you even have Blue Angels? The digestion of alien races is so much less robust that there's no way you're producing methane." "Who said anything about methane?" "Farts are gases and plasma is an ignited gas compressed to such a state that it's basically a miniature star moving at speed. It then expends its energy on the targets in a conflagration." "Conflagration," Herbert corrects her after she tries to sound out the word. "It then expends its energy on the targets in a conflagration." Yes, that is the basic description of a plasma weapon. It also fails to mention that the magnetic bottling used in it wears down extremely quickly in any place with more air in it and causes it to lose power quickly, Herbert says as he repairs the second to last weapon and picks up the last, a small but powerful plasma cannon. "Which means that that thing there won't be very good if someone's too far?" "Generally, yes. You need very special lasers or plasma cannons rifles to hit long-range targets, or just sheer power. But you can't get the kind of power you need without a spaceship fueling it. And that's generally used for orbital bombardment," he confirms. Orbital bombardment. A military maneuver where powerful warships attack the surface of a world, usually to destroy towns or cities, but sometimes to use scorched earth tactics. It's pronounced maneuver, Herbert says as he quickly checks and then repairs the plasma cannon. For all that the kids are reckless, they are very, very scary good with machines. Without proper supervision, they're going to strap rockets to a spire's underside and use it as a missile to skewer an orbital plate or something before careening the whole mess into the nearby star. Scorched Earth tactics, a military tactic where resources are day-lib, are 8-ly destroyed to deny them to the enemy forces. This tactic is generally considered a harsh or a sign of decep or 8 eon. The two words you struggled with were deliberate and desperation. Deliberate means to do something on purpose, that you mean to do it. Desperation means that you're doing something not because you want to, but because you don't see a better choice. Often, desperation comes because people are being forced to make a choice right away, and the choices are all bad. Herbert explains. So a desperate scorched earth is breaking something so someone else can't take it from you, and doing it over and over again until they leave because it's not worth it to try taking anything from you. Makes sense, I guess, but doesn't scorched earth mean burnt ground? She asks him. Well, Herbert pauses and looks back and sees that past Amazi 2 he has about half the club listening. He shrugs. It's called that because it's normally done by burning food supplies, usually in the form of crops. If an enemy army is invading and they can't feed themselves, they can't fight. Likewise, if you're trying to break a defending army, if they can't eat, then they can't defend themselves. So scorched earth. I don't need to eat, Amazi 2 says cheerfully. No, you need replacement parts and maintenance. If you don't get those, you'll shut down. So scorched earth to you is more destroying the factories that make your parts, or the mines that supply those factories the ores they need to make your parts. Makes sense? I think so. So scorched earth is about making sure the other side isn't getting what they need to keep fighting? That's right, but it's a tactic of, say it with me now, desperation. He sounds out with the group. That's right, it's a tactic of desperation to use it, because when it's used, you also lose out on things. After all, breaking your own stuff to stop the other person from having it means the stuff is still broken. So it's not something to ever use casually. Please do not teach my children military tactics on the casual, Sister West says, and he huffs in amusement as he finishes his check and repair of the last weapon, and then stashes the whole lot in an expanded pocket. They'll be checked again later, and then placed in an armory for proper use. But he had found no identifying marks, which was concerning. Either the kids were making deadly weapons to a factory level of excellence out of scraps, or they'd somehow gotten their hands on illegal, unregistered weapons of a military grade. But what if they go into a military career, he asks. If they do, which I doubt, but if they do, then they can learn about the tactics and know how then. Until then, please let them be children. What, you've never had children play soldier? Use army-style games or the like? None of my girls are Apex. None of us find the same entertainment in your unending training simulations, no matter what degree they're at. Hey, not all human games are war sims. No, but enough of them are that the point stands. While there's nothing wrong with you being an apex species, not everyone has the same appetite for that kind of entertainment, Sister West says, gives him an odd look. She does that now and again. The bad first impression humans and the Gravid faith had would occasionally make things awkward between them. Anyways, this temple is a whole 2 spires distance from your home, ma'am. Will that be an issue when it comes to keeping Amazis 1 and 2 close to each other? Herbert asks. Oh, no, not at all. I regularly speak with Lady Gear and members of her congregation. I can make the trip in no time at all, and my car has more than enough room for either sister. Really? I wouldn't think there would be much theological crossover between a religion based on cybernetic self-advancement and a faith primarily concerned with the growth of families and childbirth, Herbert says, and she blinks rapidly before laughing. It's the voice that's doing it, isn't it? It's the face. You look so innocent right now, it's all I can do not to sweep you up into a hug. But you're so serious, which makes me wonder what would happen if I tried to sell insurance like this. Herbert wonders, and Sister West dissolves into laughter for a moment. Oh, goodness me! They'd probably buy anything if you spun a little song and dance out of it, she says around her laughter at the mental image, and he fluffs out his bow tie a little and taps his shoes a bit to simulate dancing. And she laughs again. Right so, today's disaster, as averted and no one is hurt. I've given Kruger a slight obsession with getting some safety gear in the form of a helmet, and the kids are multiplying. God help us all. Herbert notes, and Sister West scoffs. I know you're a dramatic sort, but they're good kids. See? She asks, pointing behind him, and he sees the crowd of little buggers giving the puppy dog eyes. That ain't working on me. I know you guys are ready to take over the world if I don't get in the way. Things hold out for a second longer, and then about half of them yell, get him, at the same time and try to dogpile him. Try is the operative word, though, as even with the handicaps of being surprised, sitting down and having a Mozzie, too, practically on top of him already. He's still sitting on top of a pile of thoroughly confused children roughly 4 seconds later. Can we get a replay? I'm positive I missed 90% of that. Lady Gear protests and Herbert just chuckles. You didn't miss much, just reminding the kiddies that I'm bigger, stronger, smarter, handsomer, and due to years of elite military training, ready for that kind of stuff, Herbert says, looking down at the pile before kicking out with his feet and launching himself off the pile before anything more than a token protest can start. Come on, get him, Gelty shouts, and he doesn't run. He just scoots out of the way when they come for him. Of course, this leads to them trying to surround him and get him that way, but that's not working as he can easily backflip over the entire group with his hands in his pockets the whole time. This is, of course, massively entertaining, and a quick question to Lady Gear as to where would be the best place for this ends up with Chitter rushing to a door and gesturing him to follow her through. He does, and it leads to a large area that's clearly designed for the testing of new synthetic bodies and limbs, meaning it's all well padded, reinforced, and ready for any kind of nonsense the kids can dish out, at least when they're unarmed and not currently in the cockpit of a battle mech, which thankfully they are not, for now.